The Klavanless weekend is over.
Finally.
Yes, finally. It was hell, especially for me. To be without myself for 3 days was just an absolute... You know, all I read about all weekend long was the press saying that last week was Donald Trump's worst week ever. I guess it's his last worst week, which was the week before that. And obviously, if you can't trust the press, who are you going to trust? Like some lunatic raving on the street. Oh, that is the press. Sorry, I mistook him for a schizophrenic. But actually, when all the fake news clears away, last week was actually kind of amazing. It was an amazing Donald Trump week, and we're going to talk about that. And we have the inimitable Michael Knowles. At least I can't imitate him. Somebody else maybe can do a great Knowles. But the possibly inimitable Michael Knowles, I sent him off to cover corruption at NBC. And he's here today. I don't know. They sent me his pants with fish wrapped in it. I don't know what that means. But we'll talk about all of that. Meanwhile, trigger warning. I'm Andrew Klavan. This is The Andrew Klavan Show.
I feel hunky-dunky, life is tickety-boo. Birds are winging, also singing hunky-dunky-doo. Ship-shape, tipsy-topsy, the world is zippity-zing. It's a wonderful day, hurrah, hooray! It makes me want to sing. Oh, hurrah, hooray! Oh, hooray, hurrah!
Hooray, hurrah. And not only is the Klavanless weekend over, but tomorrow we will have a double dose of Klavan. It's kind of like that coffee that I drink in the morning. It's like where the spoon will stand up in it. It'll just be so much Klavan you'll be like running around like a cat on catnip, running up the walls. Our second episode of The Conversation comes up on Tuesday at 5 p.m. Eastern, 2 p.m. Pacific. And I will be there with Alicia Krause, which is why I showed up, actually, because they told me Alicia was going to be there. If it was just going to be me, I wouldn't come. All of the mysteries of the universe will be solved, and all of your life's questions will be answered. What we do, it's on the Daily Wire Facebook page and YouTube channel, and anyone can watch. I mean, the lowest of the low can watch. But if you subscribe for a lousy $10 a month, you can actually ask questions, and all my answers are guaranteed correct and will change your life, possibly for the better. So it's kind of like what is it, an hour? Is that what it is? Yeah. So it's like basically a big edition of the mailbag. If you subscribe for a year, it only costs you $100 lousy bucks plus. Come on, you get the Leftist Tears tumbler. What else could you want? While you are watching The Conversation Tuesday, 5 p.m. Eastern, 2 p.m. Pacific, wherever I am, yeah. While you are watching, this Leftist Tears tumbler will actually fill up while I'm speaking. It will fill up with Leftist Tears. Yeah, so you get them cold, you get them hot, whatever you want. And I won't have to run out in the middle of the conversation to go to the post office. And you may say, why? Why won't you? How can you do that? How is it possible that you can talk for a straight hour without stopping, getting in your car, driving to the post office, waiting online, hoping the thing is open, and get back in time to finish the conversation? It's because I use Stamps.com. That you knew that probably. Yeah. Some of you guessed. Stamps.com brings all the services of the U.S. Postal Service right to your fingertips. You can buy and print official U.S. postage for any letter, any package, any class of mail using your own computer and printer. It actually is cool. You put the envelope in your printer. Maybe it's just cool to me. Maybe everybody else is so like hep to the jive that they know. But it's cool to me that you can put your envelope in the printer. It just comes out with a stamp on it. And Stamps.com makes it easy. They'll send you a digital scale, which automatically calculates the exact postage. And they'll even help you decide the best class of mail based on your needs. You got to use this thing. I use it because I'm just not going to stop my day to go to the post office. They do a good job, but it just takes too long. So right now, you too can enjoy the Stamps.com service with a special offer that includes a 4-week trial, plus postage and a digital scale without long-term commitments. Go to Stamps.com, click on the microphone at the top of the homepage, and type in Klavan. Stamps.com, enter Klavan, K-L-A. You were going to ask, right? I knew you were going to ask. It's K-L-A-V-A-N. Stamps.com. You never got to go to the post office again. So watching the news now is like living in a left-wing fantasy world. It is just like an entire made-up place. You know, last week they were going on and on about this is Trump's worst week ever. This is such a terrible week. Molly Hemingway, whom we love at the Federalist, she edits the Federalist, but she wrote a piece quoting the Washington Post. The Washington Post headline was, "Republicans, it's time to panic." This columnist Michael Gerson wrote that Senator Bob Corker, this is the big thing, right? If you haven't been paying attention to this, Bob Corker, the Republican Tennessee, big time senator, lots of big committees and all this, he's been attacking Trump. And the press, of course, is falling all over him. The press loves you when you attack Trump. And they get what they call a strange new respect. They hate Republicans until Republicans are attacking each other. Then they say, this is a man universally respected, suddenly. And Corker was making all these comments like it's the place is out of control and he's going to start World War III and all this stuff. Morning Joe, so help me, spent 2 solid days talking about the 25th Amendment. The 25th Amendment, I'm serious, it's like a fantasy world. It's like living in their fantasies. The 25th Amendment provides that I think the vice president has to initiate it, but you can get rid of a president who can't do his job. If he's sick, if he's in a coma, if he's Donald Trump, like I think those are the things they list. Sick, in a coma. That's right. In the fantasy version of this, they actually mention Donald Trump. But then your cabinet has to go to the Congress, and the Congress has to vote on it. It ain't going to happen. And by the way, it's basically useless because if your cabinet starts to actually say this about you, you can fire them. President can, they serve at the president's pleasure. So you fire him and get somebody who won't say it about you. But Joe Scarborough, 2 days, just take an individual. This is just a quick snip of Joe Scarborough selling the 25th Amendment, which he did 2 days in a row. Have you got this? Yeah.
There's something called the 25th Amendment that they're going to have to start looking at. This is not acceptable as the status quo. When you have the most powerful Republican on Capitol Hill saying the President of the United States could be leading us toward nuclear war, and Republican senators remain silent.
Let's pray for some courage, because they certainly have been warned very clearly.
We're praying for courage that they're going to upend the election. I mean, can you imagine, not one person has talked about the 60 million people with pitchforks and torches who would be out on the mall the next day. I mean, it's just this fantasy world. So the other fantasy, and Molly talks about this too with the Federalists, the other fantasy is that everything is in chaos. Obviously, Trump is a chaotic guy. Trump is a guy who generates chaos. He yells at people. He's obviously he's a big personality. He's been living on reality TV, so everything he touches becomes reality TV. So the press has been relentlessly running these stories. Remember when everything was Russia? Neither do I. I mean, I've totally forgot. Yeah, Russia's completely off the map. But remember, every day it was Russia, and Russia said this, and a guy who knew Russia, somebody who saw From Russia with Love is now an anonymous source and everything, whatever they could find. Somebody who read a John le Carré novel once was hanging out with Donald Trump, and it was just all this garbage, which is now gone. I mean, they keep hoping it'll come back. They keep praying that this is going to get him impeached, something like this. But it's a complete nonsense story. So now the nonsense story is about the chaos. Everybody's getting fired. And the big one was Tillerson. Did Tillerson call Trump a moron? And here's my opinion. Of course he called him a moron. Tillerson is a big guy. Trump is a big guy. They probably call each other names all the time. That pansy, that moron, I hate that guy. There are probably a lot worse names than moron. So Tillerson is too cool to lie. But he doesn't want to answer the question. Jake Tapper has him on. This is this, here he is on CNN, Secretary of State, and Tapper asks him the question, and Tillerson gives this long, long answer. He says, I'm not going to do this. I'm just not going to answer the question. And it goes on, and then talks about the administration and what they're doing and all this stuff. And then Tapper comes back to it. And this is how he uses his time. So this is cut number 3.
When you don't answer the question, it makes people think that you probably did say it. But either way, whatever happened, it is serious. So can you please clear it up?
As I said, Jake, I'm not playing. These are the games of Washington. These are the destructive games of this town. They're not helpful to anyone. And so my position on it is, I'm not playing. I'm not playing. You want to make a game out of it? I'm not playing.
I'm not making a game out of it. I mean, I'm just trying to see clarity, because saying that if I said that my boss was a moron, that would be a serious issue. It wouldn't be, and my boss doesn't control nukes. I'm willing to move on, but I just want to be clear. You still haven't denied that you called him a moron. And, a lot of people are going to watch this and think he probably said it.
I'm not dignifying the question with an answer, Jake. And I'm a little surprised you want to spend so much time on it when there's so many important issues around the world.
Now, I have to tell you, I was a reporter. I was a reporter both in the newspaper and in radio. And reporters do this all the time. They try and convince the guy that it is in his best interest. Reporters are a little like cops this way. You try to convince the guy that it's in his best interest to answer your stupid question, which you obviously are going to blow up underneath him. Like, it's trying to get him to hoist himself on his own petard. Does anybody know what that means? A petard, yeah, petard was an explosive device. And if you blew yourself up with it, you hoisted yourself on your own petard. That's just a little side note I thought you might be interested in. But the thing is, reporters do this all the time. It would really be in your best interest if you would tell me this fact that you don't want anybody to know, that I will then use to excoriate you in the press, okay? Because if anybody Tillerson actually said, yeah, I called him a moron, what do I care if he's the press? That we'd never, ever, ever hear the end of it. It's the same as when cops say to people, get it off your chest, you'll feel better. And then they put you in jail for 25 years to life, and that doesn't feel as much better as you kind of thought it would. You thought it was going to feel better, but 25 years to life is too long. So anyway, this is the thing that the press is absolutely focused on. Never mind substance, never mind what's going on legally in terms of new legislation, in terms of new regulation. None of that. It's all this stuff. So John Kelly, the chief of staff and a general, comes out and surprises the press at a press conference, at the usual press conference. He comes out and talks to them, and he tries to be a little charming. He says, I'm not getting fired. Nothing has happened. This is his one complaint. Listen to this.
My only frustration, with all due respect to everyone in the room, is when I come to work in the morning and read about things I allegedly said, or things that Mr. Trump allegedly said, or people who were going to be fired or whatever, and it's just not true. That's my frustration. I mean no disrespect to you all.
I mean no disrespect to you all, but everything you say is a lie. Obviously, like I said, this guy is a chaotic guy. There's a lot of noise, a lot of sound and fury. But let's talk about what really happened last week. Okay, let's brush all that away. What really happened last week? Trump started to tame the EPA. He got rid of this Clean Power Plan. Okay, and the thing about the Clean Power Plan is that the EPA has been running riot against business, and especially against the coal industry. And the way they do this is they'll declare the particulates that come out of producing coal and burning coal. They'll declare them absolutely lethal. And Congress will say, well, how do you know they're lethal? And they'll say, well, we did a study. And Congress, this is absolutely true. Congress will subpoena the study, and the EPA won't turn it over. And so they've done other studies. It's not, it's not absolutely lethal. Obviously, there's always going to be some pollution. Coal is probably not, even clean coal is probably not the cleanest thing you can use. But still, this was just an attempt to destroy an industry that they don't like, the left doesn't like, and the EPA has been out of control, and this was the right thing to do. They started to pull this back. This is definitely an improvement. This is one of the things that Trump is doing that is great. He ended illegal subsidies to the insurance companies. What's happening with this is these companies, Obamacare is such a mess that these companies can't afford to pay out thing. When you say to an insurance company who's supposed to insure you against the possibility that you're going to get sick, and you say to them, well, you have to cover people who are already sick, there's no business model there. That's not a business model. That's fascist business. Communists take over businesses. Fascists just tell the business what to do and then blame the business when things go wrong. That literally is a definition, one of the definitions of fascism. That's what they do. So these subsidies that they were paying out to insurance companies were completely illegal. The Constitution says you have to legislate. How would it be if Trump just said, I'm going to build the wall? Never mind, I don't care what Congress says. I'm just going to build the wall. These were completely illegal. So he ends them, and now the insurance companies are in trouble, and they're scrambling. So here, this is just to give an example of how the left reacts. This is Democratic Senator Chris Murphy from Connecticut. What does this mean for everything? And then I'll tell you what it really means.
This is the equivalent of healthcare arson. He is literally setting the entire healthcare system on fire just because the president is upset that the United States Congress won't pass a repeal bill that is supported by 17% of the American public. These subsidies going to the insurance companies help very low-income people afford insurance. And without the subsidies, there will be many people who won't be able to provide insurance and afford it. And the other set of subsidies that go go to individuals to access coverage will actually increase, meaning that the deficit goes up, the amount of money that we spend overall in the Affordable Care Act goes up, because all that happens is the payments that used to be going to insurance companies now get substituted with increased tax credits for individuals to afford the coverage. The fact of the matter is the president is trying to sabotage the American healthcare system, trying to put a gun to the head of our constituents by taking away their healthcare or raising their costs in order to force us to repeal a bill that the American public doesn't want us to repeal.
So it's a gun to your head, it's arson, he's setting things on fire, he's blowing things up. What happens now? What happens now is the Senate will now have to figure out what to do because they were doing this illegally. You didn't hear the word constitution once there. You didn't hear the word legal once there. All Trump did was end something that was being done illegally, and now the Senate will have to figure out what they're going to do about this. And that means that they're trying to put together packages to basically repeal and replace Obamacare. Trump has forced the Congress. Now, what does the president mean by going to Congress to pass laws? What the hell is going on in this country? This man is an autocrat. He is a tyrant. How can he force Congress to do its job? It's same thing with Iran. The same thing with Iran. He said he would not certify the Iran deal. And the thing is, this Iran deal is such a bad thing. It is so bad. But one of the reasons it's bad is because Barack Obama, remember Barack Obama? He used to, what did he do? Yeah, he's something. It's hard to, I always forget him. I can't remember what he looks like because his legacy is just kind of a drifting mist floating away on the winds of change. But Barack Obama was not a dumb man, and he set this thing up. So we gave Iran all this money. We pulled off the sanctions that, remember, the Western world was basically as one delivering these sanctions against Iran. But we knew that Europe is dying to do business with Iran, so that they're never going to come back on board. They're never going to come back on board these sanctions. And all this did was it meant that Iran can continue their nuclear research, but they can't do it in a way that immediately applies to weapons, and then the whole thing sunsets and they build a nuclear bomb. I mean, they could have a nuclear bomb tomorrow because all they have to do is buy. North Korea would be happy to sell them what they've got. But this just, I guess it slows them down, but it's the same deal. Nikki Haley was on, and she pointed out this is exactly what Clinton did with North Korea. Listen to what she's talking about.
Everybody is turning a blind eye to Iran, and all of those violations out of trying to protect this agreement. What we need to say is we have to hold them accountable. They can't be continuing to support terrorism around the world like we are seeing they do. They can't continue to test ballistic missiles, which will lead to a nuclear Iran. They can't continue to do arms smuggling in the way that they're doing. Are we really ready to have them become
So you're saying you believe that there are other dangers posed by Iran, but right now remaining in the deal is in the national security interest of the United States?
I think that's why you saw the president is staying in the deal. He's saying to Congress, can we make it better? What else can we do so that we can better protect Americans? And I think that his engagement with Congress is something that never happened under President Obama. They were never allowed to debate it. They were never allowed to discuss it. So now Congress is going to be fully engaged on the threats of Iran. These are all lessons learned from North Korea, every single one of them.
See, this is the other thing. Obama set this up, and Congress let him do it, which is really criminal. But they set this up. This is a treaty. They keep calling it the Iran deal. It's a treaty, and it should have been voted on by Congress, and it wasn't. All this unconstitutional stuff. This is what really bugs me. Well, once again, he's pushing this back to Congress, and all the gray heads are on the Sunday shows, and they're all saying, oh, Congress isn't going to do anything for 6 months. Then we're going to be right back where we started, and all this. I mean, once again, Trump is asking Congress to do its job, to justify and examine this treaty. And there's nothing good going to come out of this treaty except maybe a delay, maybe a slight delay in their acquisition of nuclear weapons. Whereas, and I agree, Iran is not going to negotiate. It's not going. But why should we have the treaty at all? I don't understand. Why should we have the treaty at all? What Trump is basically saying is he's readjusting our foreign policy to preventing Iran from having a nuclear war. So when Bob Corker says he's going to push us to World War III, all these sophisticated gray heads have been sitting here for 20 years while North Korea has slowly gone building its bomb, and now they're sitting here where Iran slowly goes ahead building its bomb. And as long as it's not happening today, somehow everything's okay. And when Trump says, you know what, we really better stop this, it's, oh my God, it's World War III. I don't buy it. I don't buy it. He did a lot more last week. I'm only getting started, but I want to get to Michael Knowles. Also want to talk to you about upside because of the upside. with Upside. Because, you know, the thing is, if you belong to a big company, like this is a major media company. With this, oh, I see it. We basically own Sherman Oaks. Basically, Sherman Oaks is one big Daily Wire building. But if you belong to a company like this, you just have an entire department where you go in and they arrange your travel for you. If somebody says, hey, we need you to go to, you know, New York, it's all set up. Here's your ticket. You're gone. You have somebody you can call if something goes wrong. If you don't get the seat you want, somebody you can call. But if you're in a small business, see, you need Upside.com, because Upside.com will do all that stuff for you. For instance, if you don't like your room, you can call them. If you don't like your seat on the plane, if you don't have Wi-Fi, buying a business trip at Upside.com is a triple win, and here is why. Number one, Upside has the absolute best available prices for flights, hotel, and rental cars, and you don't get that as an individual, and you don't get it as a small business. Win number two is that Upside will reward you with a gift card to places like Amazon.com every time you buy a business trip. Another thing that happens at a big company is you get rewards for using certain companies. You get this with Upside.com. Number three is the amazing, they call it 6-star treatment you'll get from Upside's customer service specialists. They call them navigators. And what happens is, if you get on, you say your flight is delayed for 2 hours, you call the navigator. Navigator will arrange for you to have complimentary access to the executive lounge. I have to tell you, I use these all the time. They make traveling so much better. They really do. And you can always get in touch with one of these guys, and they're just always accessible by voice, chat, email, or message on the Upside app, even reaching out to you with useful info to help you avoid a problem before it happens. I will start your Upside 6-star treatment right now. Go to Upside.com and use my code Andrew, and you'll get a minimum $100 gift card to Amazon.com. That's code Andrew. This helps us as well as them, because they know that I'm the one who's sending you. So go on, use the code Andrew for a minimum $100 gift card to Amazon.com when you buy your next business trip at Upside.com. Upside.com. You deserve a better business trip. Minimum purchase required, and see the site for complete details. We got Michael Knowles coming up to discuss the corruption, the incredible corruption at NBC. But we got to say goodbye to Facebook and YouTube. You can still go to thedailywire.com and listen to the show. If you want to watch the whole show on thedailywire.com so you don't have to jump back and forth, subscribe. It's a lousy $10 a month, and you will get to ask questions at the conversation, which is tomorrow. It is tomorrow, 5 p.m. Eastern, 2 p.m. Pacific. It's me and Alicia Krause. We will answer every possible, we'll solve all the problems of your life. Your life will be a better thing after tomorrow. It's on Daily Wire Facebook page and YouTube channel. Anyone can watch it, but you got to subscribe to ask questions. Come on over to thedailywire.com.